we are.
Real estate agent, are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder podcast.
Yes, and here we are. Yep, it's a wonderful day here on the East Coast, and it's been it hasn't been wonderful days over the past week, and I want to send out my condolences and thoughts to everyone that has been affected by Hurricane Ada, Tropical Storm Ada, whatever you want to call it. But it was tragedy and disastrous, and a lot of bad things happened. But we have to work on our resiliency to move forward and to be great. So we are really lucky today to have someone that I have followed for years. Josh, I've followed you for years. I told you the other day, and this is actually one of the first times we've ever met, aside from the other day. And followed
your stuff. But I recognized your name, man. I've known you absolutely. Yeah, we've known each other for years.
Right,
on some form or
right. I mean, from what it was, Attract You, right? That's your book, right?
Yeah.
And a Client Alchemist and Selective Sequencing. But I want to introduce Josh Schoenly, who has been gracious to be on our episode, Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 169. This is in a row, 166 weeks. We have done this broadcast. As you can see, I am not in my studio. I am actually somewhere else today doing this broadcast, actually at the Jersey Shore. So, Josh, I want to thank you for coming on, and I just want to give back as much as we possibly can. How are you today, man?
I'm fantastic. I'm not as good as you because I don't have, one of the things I said when we were doing our pre-show banter was that, you've got that as a real background. That's not like some Zoom fake background. Like that's a legit background. Now it's beautiful here in Central PA today. But the beach is also, that's a nice background. You're in a good spot for this today, for sure.
Thank you. It sure is. And I want to start the broadcast before I get into our conversation for today. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF. Do you know what TGIF stands for?
Well, I know what it normally stands for. Is there a special acronym that I should know?
Well, dude, I mean, it's staring you right in the face. It's thank God it's finale. I mean, come on, right?
Come on,
not thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's finale. And that's the way to go.
You teed that up for me, and I just whipped completely.
Josh, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, man. There's only a few people that have gotten it, and they've been on the show more than once. So anyway, man.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's talk about Josh Schoenly, the realtor, the coach, the trainer, all this stuff. But first, man, how did you get into real estate? What was the reason that you got into real estate? What problem did real estate solve for you?
Yes, well, all right, I'll try and make this long story short, but I went to college. So I went to college to be a health and phys ed teacher. I really thought at the end of high school and throughout college that I was going to teach gym my whole life and coach baseball and maybe some other, sports when it wasn't baseball season. That's really what I thought I would do. And I grew up with entrepreneurial minded parents. My dad, I never knew my mom or dad to have a job in my lifetime. They still haven't had a normal job.
That's funny.
But even despite that, I just didn't really, I don't know. I didn't think that would ever be who I would become. My wife and I, we weren't married at the time. I think we were engaged. We bought our first house together 2003 or 2, somewhere around there.
Right.
This is when the market just started to get hot, right? And we bought this little Cape Cod house, and in a matter of, 14 or 15 months, just slapping some paint, putting some new carpet, doing a little bit of upgrades here or there, we resold it and made a lot of money. Now, that wasn't our intention, like that we didn't really, we didn't buy it to resell it. We weren't really thinking that way. It's just we were paying attention to what the market was doing, and it worked out that way. So we took that and we kind of traded up to a bigger house. And did the same thing. We did some minor upgrades and updates and so forth. I remember I did this one room. I took wallpaper off. I will never ever do that again. That was the worst experience.
I know what you're talking about, man. I've done that.
Oh my word. Anyway, so we did these things, and then we ended up we did the same thing again. We made, I don't know, so here's what really got my attention. In both of those instances, I made more or approximately the same amount of money as my entire year's salary as a teacher. And so that really got my attention. So we sold that second house. We ended up moving back into the area that we live now, which is Central PA. I live between Mechanicsburg and Harrisburg. To be closer to family, we were in the Philly suburbs at that point, and it was awesome. It's a great place to live. It just cost of living's higher, and we didn't have any family in that area. So anyway, we did all that, but this really got my mind like kind of churning on, maybe there's something to this real estate stuff. So I started reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've read every Robert Kiyosaki book there is.
Right.
I read another one on wealth building. I meant to look this up because we talked yesterday. I can't remember the guy's name, and I want to give him props. But there was another one of the gurus, the real estate gurus at the time, and it just kind of opened my mind to things. I bought my first real, true investment property in 2004 or 5. That was a complete train wreck. The best part about that one was there was a cool antique car in the garage that no one really knew about. It was kind of like buried in there. That was really the only reason I made any money on that property, because I was able to sell that on eBay for like, I don't know, $4 or $5 grand. So anyway, that got me moving. I just started networking with people and just started doing deals. I started wholesaling properties, buying rentals, flipping properties. I partnered with a couple of guys that were awesome, and we did a bunch of renovations. And then around 2006 or 7, I got my license to. I really got licensed because I wanted to work with investors.
Right.
And one of my, a coach or mentor that I found had a sort of system around how you could build a real estate business around working with investors. And that really intrigued me. The traditional model of, or reason that a lot of people get licensed, that wasn't how I got into it. A lot of people get licensed because, they had a bad experience with a real estate agent, or, they like looking at houses, they like watching HGTV, whatever. I got into it because, or around a predictable and scalable way to build a business. And I invested into this program that the fellow by the name of Rob had. And what I was paying for were his proven marketing assets and his proven system for building a business. So I got licensed. My very first year, I was like rookie of the year in my little independent brokerage. My second year, I sold, I was #1 in the little brokerage out of 50 some agents. It wasn't like, I didn't do like some crazy number of transactions. I don't know. I did 30 or 40 something like that. But all along the line with that, what I realized and what I kept coming to was what I enjoyed most, what excited me most, what kept me up at night thinking about it, and what got me up early. What I found fun about the business was the marketing. It was, I can leverage technology and the internet to get clients coming to me. And I think part of the reasons why that excited me so much and why it interested me so much is because, all along the lines here, I had tried all kinds of different businesses, right? Network marketing businesses, and so forth. And in almost every scenario, including my very first broker, the very first thing, or one of the very first things they would do is they'd give you one of those sheets with like numbers 1 to 100. Write down the names of 100 people that that you can reach out to and ask them to do business with you, basically. And the thought of that, for me, just, I don't know, it was just off-putting for me. And I kind of became resolved to the fact that if I couldn't find a better way to build a business, to build client acquisition systems, where clients would come to me versus me having to chase after them. If I couldn't figure it out, I was just going to go back to teaching. Like, I figured I'll go back to teaching. I'll just do investments on the side. And that sent me down the rabbit hole. I've invested, people were bragging the other day that, how much they have invested into their education and their career. I have, and my wife is outside right now. I don't want her to hear this, but I mean, I've invested at least a quarter $250,000 to $500,000 into programs, coaching, training, etc. All because I'm constantly, I figured, constantly looking for better ways to build a business, more effective and efficient ways. And one of the things we talked about on our pre-call was, I understand that you can generate business with cold calls, knocking doors, pop buys, etc. And I'm not knocking that. It's just I don't ever want to do that because I don't want my business to be reliant upon activities that when they stop, the business stops.
Right.
I want to create compounding assets. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No. I want to work off a couple of things you say. Compounding assets is amazing. That's another great one. So I want to hit with first, write down the 400 people and that kind of was off-putting to you. So I want to ask the question because it's part of what I train and coach and how we try to work with it is why not for you let's say for you was talking to people not something that you wanted to do?
Well, so I actually think everyone should do that. Okay. I do actually think that you should communicate with the people that know, like, and trust you. It's just at that point in my life and that point in my career, and what people were telling me seemed like if I'm reaching out to them, the scripts I was given and what I was being told to do was about me and not about them. And what 100%. I want to do, what I want to do is if I'm reaching out to my sphere of influence, and I keep my top 150 list. It's actually more like 190. Where I have their name, their email, their phone number, and their mailing address. What I want to do is I want to stay in touch with them, but in a way that is easier, more pleasurable, and more valuable to both of us. So, for example, one of the things I do is I send a monthly postcard to that list. It's a postcard that I get from Dean Jackson. Dean Jackson is he's like the godfather of real estate marketing, right?
He's been on the program. He's an old friend of mine.
Indeed. Oh, yes. Man. Listen, I feel even more honored that I'm on here, knowing that he has been on this. But so he's a marketing genius. Like, he has forgotten way more in his pinky than I know
100%,
about,
man.
About marketing. But anyway, so I send that, and then I stay in touch by providing value. And one thing that I had all sort of dialed in and was going to implement was a series of client events. I had it all sort of planned out last year in early March, and we all know what happened in mid-March last year. So that kind of went to the wayside, and I haven't revived that, but that's still on my on my radar to do. Is when you have an event and you reach out to the people on your list and you're inviting them to an event, that's different than calling them and saying, hey, just checking in to see how you were doing. Hope the family's well. Oh, by the way, who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling? Which is the kind of scripting that was off-putting to me years and years and years ago. Because
it's off-putting today too, man. It's off-putting today.
Yeah, totally.
It's not a conversation. It's not about what meeting them where they are and what they want. It's about what you're asking the question to get at what you want, and that's 100%. The problem with it. And I agree with you 100%. Yep. That's why we don't work on that part of it at all. So go ahead, man.
Yep. Well, no. So I believe in that. But the analogy that I use with that is the business that comes from that list. For me, it's like 190. I view that as the cherry on top of the sundae, or the gravy on top of the meat and potatoes, right? I'm certainly going to take all of those opportunities, but I'm also not going to be reliant upon that business for my livelihood. And so that's why I put so much energy and effort into building systems, assets, a database, et cetera, that are more scalable and predictable. And then when I get that random call or referral or text or email saying, hey, it's Amy, and I heard my neighbor, talking about selling or whatever. I told them they should reach out to you. Like that, those are pleasant surprises, but I'm not sitting around waiting for those and praying that kind of stuff happens.
So let's get into something else you said. Is you talked about a system in predictable, scalable ways, and you use proven marketing assets, right? So I want to get into the simple definition in your mind and how you started your business of a system, because to try to explain a system to a lot of people, they're just not going to get. Well, I make the call, or I buy Zillow leads, or I do this, or I do that. Talk to me about a simple system that a new agent can put into effect that will work for them. A simple system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so globally, a system has many definitions, right? It's just a series of actions that you have documented, right? So, like, I have a system for my mornings, right? Like, I have a systematic way that I approach my mornings. I have systems that I use for my workouts, right? Like, I have all of our, pretty much every part of life is some kind of system, good or bad, right? Specifically, the context that you gave, the way I think about systems for example, a new agent would be a series of marketing assets and technology that will take people from, and you can use whatever vernacular you want, but not met to client, or, top of funnel to bottom of funnel, right? And systems, a lot of people think that systems mean that we don't have to do any work, right? And that's not the case. What we try to do, or at least the way I look at systems, is putting things in place so that the work that we are doing is more efficient. So I'll give you a very tangible example. Let's say we've got a Facebook lead generation campaign that we're running, right? There's marketing campaigns that drive people into the funnel or the pipeline, and we use systems. For example, I know we're both with with EXP, so we both have KV Core. So I'll give KV Core as an example. I use smart campaigns in KV Core to sift and sort out the buyers and sellers that are most motivated or ready, willing, and able to do business now or in the short term, versus the ones that have real estate intent, but their motivation hasn't hit a tipping point. And then where I invest my energy is the ones that, through their behavior, have indicated that I should, right? So through their behavior being, they respond to a text message, they call me back on a ringless voicemail, they respond to an email, they respond to my ISA team that is calling new leads, and so forth. So it's just a matter of putting things in place, technology in place, and smart campaigns and different things in place, so that it creates leverage for you, and you can spend your time most effectively and efficiently. And it also creates the opportunity for, you could either work harder and put in more time into the people that the system is spitting out for you, or maybe you actually take some time off, like you actually relax in the evenings and on the weekends, which I've been very blessed to do. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but
no, please do.
What I didn't mention in my story is, for about 10 years, I wasn't actively producing. I built a couple of companies, pretty significant companies, providing training, coaching, software and products for real estate agents. But in 2019, I reactivated my license, and I went back into personal production in 2020. I reactivated in 2019, but just was kind of getting my ducks in a row and so forth. And last year, I went from 0 to 30 transactions. This year, I'll probably close around 50. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get to 60. And during that time, I've also created a bunch of new products and training. And I've also grown an organization to nearly 80 agents and brokers. And I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that I couldn't have done that without leveraging systems and putting into place, people and so forth. Because I have 4 young children. I do my best not to work in the evenings. I hate working on the weekends. And I don't work very hard during the summers, to be honest. Because I still have that teacher mentality, and yet because I leverage systems and I build compounding assets, the trajectory of not only my production but also building my organization, the trajectory of both of those just kind of keep climbing and climbing.
So I want to break this down a bit, right, and unpack it as you brought it. We talked about system, right? So system was the first thing we talked about. I asked you what that was, and basically that's getting someone to be aware of you, to be aware that they want to buy a house, to be aware that you're the person to do it, to go from A to Z. We can say that, A to Z, if I could give you A, you're going to do B, right? And you're going to go from step to step to step. And it's bring them from a regular person on the street to become a client when they actually sign a document with you. And that's people, just so you know, what a client is basically when they sign something to work with you or they're working with you, whatever it is. And what you did is you had trained this and coached this over the years. And what you did was you actually practiced what you preach, you utilized a predictable, scalable way as you got your ducks in a row when you first got your license back to build that. What was the one thing that helped you go from 0 to 30 last year?
Okay. One thing.
Yeah,
maybe as I talk this through, maybe as I talk this through, it'll come up, but I will tell you that sort of one of my mantras or core beliefs is just massive action, right? And I actually, lots of people talk about massive action. I like to add in one word, massive right action, right? Because we can take massive action, but if we're doing the wrong things, we're going to end up just being frustrated and out of energy, right? So you want to take massive right action, and there's lots of right ways, right? Like there's, for example, I was at the Build conference in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and the thing that struck me, basically, what that is it's a conference for people that are building an organization with EXP, and they have a bunch of speakers from people that are building organizations, people that have built organizations of hundreds, thousands, and some of them tens of thousands of people. And what struck me was they're all doing it different, right? There's lots of right ways to do it, right? So understand that there's never one perfect right answer. It's the right answer for you, your business, your personality, what resonates with you, etc.
Absolutely.
So how did I do that? 0 to 30? Number one is I was just going crazy. And I mean, just doing anything. I was taking any opportunities. Somebody had a little parcel of land they wanted to list. Fine. You want to buy a mobile home? Fine. I'll do whatever because I wanted to create momentum. I wanted to do whatever I could to create momentum. If I had to boil it down to there's always that 80-20 principle, right? So what's the 80-20? What was the 80-20? I'll boil it down to two things. Number one is I did get, I did the tracking, but I don't have it in front of me. 5 or 6 of those probably were from people that were in my sphere of influence. Okay, so 5 or 6 of them, referrals, etc. The vast majority, though, came from what I call selective sequencing, which is our process of doing exactly what you sort of described, which is taking someone A to Z, basically creating a group of systems and campaigns that take someone from they have no idea who Dave is to they're ready, willing, and able to do business with Dave. And there were a couple of different campaigns and things evolved during the year because last year was a crazy year too. So I mean, the first half of the year looked way different than the second half of the year. I'm in Pennsylvania, so there was, I can't remember if it was 90 or 120 days where we were completely on lockdown. And I just had to get creative. I did a lot of Zooms. I sold houses via Zoom. We used our virtual technologies and just made the best of it. I hope that answers kind of
that's 100% perfect because, this broadcast started with the thought in mind to give back to the real estate community that has been so good to me because I saw so many people doing it poorly and not giving a shit about it. And my point was, let me give back the way I could. And that answer, because everybody hears the word system. You need systems. You need systems. You need systems and processes. You need tools. So you need tools to build the system, to build the process. So system is a part of it. And it's just so important. And this morning, I run a good, 3-4 mornings a week. And this morning, I was thinking about a couple of things. I tried to do a video after that run live, and I was thinking about our conversation today. And I knew about selective sequencing system. I've known, as I said, I've followed you for a very long time. I've known the different things you did. And I wanted to ask you that one question because it's extremely important for people to understand that it's not, I'm going to go into real estate or I'm going to start a new job. I do have another important question for you about getting started from 0 to 30. And it's also people that want to start a team. And I say to them, okay, so are you a lead generator? How are you bringing in leads? What is your proposition to the people to come and join you as a team? What are you going to give them that's going to make them want to join you? Number two, do you have a system that says the Dave Finale system of selling real estate, and this is how we do it, right? Because they don't understand a lot of times, oh, that doesn't matter. I just want people to work with me. I want to start a team. I want to start a team. I want to start a team, right? So you were able to ramp up and change what you were doing. And you talked about massive action. You talked about massive right action. So you were in process. You had your own business of training and coaching and all these other things. What was the difference for you? How did your life change from going from that trainer, that coacher, coacher, listen to me, coaching, going from that part of maybe, and I'm not going to say relaxed. I just said the word anyway, but it was, you had a process that you worked on, and that's what you did, but you changed your life. Yeah. So talk to me about that change of life and how and what you had to do. Did you have to change gears? Did you have to get into a new car? Not literally, but figuratively.
So, man, there's a lot to unpack there. And one of the reasons why, if you saw me, I was looking down. I was actually trying to look at my notes because what you were saying reminded me of a quote, and I'm going to butcher it because I couldn't find it. But remind me to share the quote. So there's a lot to unpack in the question you asked. What did I do? Well, number one of the reasons why I decided to reactivate my license and go back into personal production and build an organization was I was too comfortable. I had gotten stagnant, right? There's that old cliche or analogy, right? Like, stagnant water dies or whatever, right? Like, right. Water that's not moving, eventually dies. And so I just came to that realization. Like it was one thing after the other that just made me realize I need to do something different here. Right. How did I, force myself out of that? Well, we closed the company. I literally shut down the company, Client Alchemist, that I had been running because that was a way to force accountability on myself to like, hey, dude, like there's, that everybody, not everybody. I've heard this story from many coaches about the conquistador that took his fleet of ships to an island and said, burn the boats, right? Like we're going to win or we're going to die. And so that was something that I did. Now, I'm not suggesting that for everyone. Like I'm not suggesting that you just, if you're part-time right now, I'm not suggesting that you just, irrationally, burn your boats, right? Don't go walk in this afternoon and quit your job or whatever. But there does come a point where, you got to get drastic and you got to do something to create a change like that and just sort of snap you out of it. Now, I had been coaching and teaching and training and having conversations with agents. So what gave me the confidence to do that is I knew that if I practiced what I had been preaching, that I would figure it out. Like I knew I had a blueprint and It was just a matter of me executing on it and being patient, which is hard for me. Right. I'm a very impatient person. Join right. But I knew if I implemented and I just stayed patient and I just kept at it, that eventually it would hit a tipping point where it's like, the snowball going down the hill. Eventually it just gets to a point where, like I said at some point here that I don't like to work much during the summers. Right. I've got 4 kids. They're off of school. I used to be a teacher. I had for the last 12 years coached baseball. All of those things make it hard for me to be focused and productive during the summer. And yet, even though I've not worked very much this summer, still compounding, still closing transactions.
Right. Exactly.
My organization is still building because I put things into place that work, even if I'm not working.
Exactly. And you started where you started from. You kind of burned the boats. That's what I was getting. As soon as you said that,
yeah,
I knew exactly where you're going with it, right? But here's the thing: people don't understand. You created momentum. You created momentum with everything you've done. You're still out there. You're selling real estate, but you're also still helping lots of agents, right?
Yep.
Which is because I'm on your email drip. I get your emails every day, every week, whatever they are, and I want to get into an email you sent out today, right? You sent out today an email, and the subject line was struggling to find ready, willing, and able buyers and sellers. So since this is a real estate show, this is about trading and coaching and helping and giving back. Talk to me about what's in that email. And what I'm going to do is, as you talk about that email, I'm going to post the link for that email, and then people can hear you describe it, and they can copy. It's not an easy link to copy and paste. If you can on the screen, grab it or just copy it and just talk about this, if you would, Josh. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I want to share. I want to highlight one thing that you mentioned, though, in that that I pulled out my notes again. So at that conference, Tony Robbins spoke, and one of the things that I wrote down, and you hit on it, momentum. I wrote down. He said something that the team and you can insert the business, the organization. Like, this isn't about sports, although he was using a sports analogy, but the team that creates and maintains the most momentum is the team that wins. It's not always the best team that wins. We have all watched sporting events where an underdog, a wild underdog, ends up winning. How did they do that? They created and maintained the momentum in order to make that happen. And that's what I'm about, right? And how do you create and maintain that momentum? Massive right actions. All right. Now, to the email that I sent this morning. 3, if you are struggling to find ready, willing, and able buyers, let's get sort of more tactical here. If that is the case, there are really only 3 potential problems. Okay, there's really only 3 potential problems. You either don't have a high enough quantity of leads, right? You don't have enough lead flow or opportunity flow. Okay, how many leads are you generating every day, every week, every month? Number 2, it could be a quality of lead problem, right? Maybe wherever you're getting your leads from, it's not good quality leads. There aren't people who have real estate motivation or real estate intent. They're not responding to any of your emails, your calls, your texts, etc. And number 3 would be, if you have a good quantity and good quality and you're still struggling, then it's probably a problem with your value proposition. Do you have a unique or multiple unique value propositions that allow you to communicate and demonstrate to this consumer, to your marketplace, value that you provide beyond others in your marketplace? Or even if it's not beyond others, it's at least different than others, right? Do something that differentiate yourselves. And I'll give another. I know I keep pointing to examples, but I try to keep it practical.
This is fantastic. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. So Tony, he's in a room of we're all real estate agents, and most of which are mega producers. And one of the things he actually talked about, unique value propositions, and I think he might have called it unique selling propositions or something else, but same idea.
He did.
And he had several. Yeah, and he singled out several agents in their audience and said, why would I work with you over someone else? And the answers were like, well, I've been in the business for this long. I answer my phone 24/7. I provide great service. Like that. That's the floor, right? That's the floor. Everybody should be doing that stuff, right? What makes you, or what do you offer that's unique and valuable? And I'll give an example. So
Please.
I offer something that I call my off-market matchmaker program. I think everybody at the time of this recording, most of you are in a market that is an extreme seller's market, And probably one of the objections that you're hearing most often from potential home sellers is, yes, I know I can sell my house, but where the heck am I going to go? Right? I can't find a house. And so I created or coined the phrase off-market matchmaker program. What is that? Well, when you have demonstrated that you are a ready, willing, and able buyer, you're pre-approved, you would be ready. If I found you your dream home, you'd be ready to make an offer today. If you have proven that to me, then we will go out and invest our own time and money and energy into finding off-market properties for you. Where do you find them? Expireds, withdrawns. We have a something I call circle prospecting 2.0, where we reverse engineer the type of property they're looking for, and we do these filtering, awesome. And we have a process. But we will actively go and find you your dream home versus just waiting for it to come up on the MLS and then competing with another 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different offers, right? And so that I can confidently tell. So here's how you know if you have a true unique value proposition. If what you offer would compel someone to work with you versus their personal friend or family member who may also be licensed, if it is that compelling, now you've got a unique value proposition, right? If you have something that you can offer that would be that would have someone choose to work with you versus their mom, who's a licensed real estate agent, now you've got something. And I think, without that, it's really rough. Without that, you're fighting in a red ocean, right? Red ocean, blue ocean. Unique value propositions allow you to create your own blue ocean to swim in versus the shark-infested waters of a red ocean.
Absolutely. And you have to be willing to do what others won't do. I mean, and that's the same thing. I mean, look, we live in it's funny, this week, not working 100% of the time as I usually do, with a lot of other people, there's been TV programs on, and I see this stuff in these talk shows where they're giving out the same information that they give out every year. It's the same stuff. Well, how do you bake this cake, or how do you clean this house better, or what products are available for back to school? And it's all the same stuff. My point to this is really simple. There's always going to be a cycle of people coming through that are going to be amazed at what your unique selling proposition is, because they're going to say, well, nobody else does that. It's the same with realtors. There's still going to be the same realtors that think they can come out there and do business just because they got a license that they're supposed to get business. Well, you know what? If you've got the systems and the processes and tools, you are supposed to get business because you worked at it and you took massive right action to create momentum, which is exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I want to add one more example, practical example of this is it could be as simple as you finding a unique or several unique special financing programs in your market. And just the fact that you are you're not even creating anything, but you being the messenger of that, because we often take for granted, for example, I'm in a rural area. And so the majority of my area qualifies for USDA financing. Well, that may be common knowledge to me, but it's not common knowledge to the general consumer. And so if I'm the messenger of that, that becomes a unique value proposition that I'm communicating that makes the recipe, like Dave's example, it makes it more interesting and valuable. And again, you're communicating it to an audience that may not know that. So to them, you're providing value and an aha and something they didn't know about. And that makes them predisposed to doing business with you. They won't even look for it. They're not even going to bother with other competitors. Like, this guy just made me aware of something I had no idea. Why would I work with anybody else? He must be, he must be a professional. He must know his stuff. Right.
So we talk about the unique value proposition, unique service proposition, whatever we want to call it. And Tony Robbins talked about the Build Conference, which was an awesome conference with just leaders and growers and everybody that's there and great realtors, great real estate agents. You talked about all that. And there's a lot of things that you like to do, but one of them, and your specialty has always been marketing, right? And now you said that your excitement about marketing what kept you up at night. Talk to me about how you've taken what you've done and how you've been able to take that UVP, that USP, whatever you want to call it, and market it to it or with it. Tell me how you've taken the idea and the thought that what you're going to present in your listing or pricing conversation, whatever it is, over to the marketing realm.
Yeah, I'll give a number of practical examples, but I want to close the loop on something I mentioned earlier. I said I was looking for a quote. It wasn't the Tony Robbins quote. There was another one that presented, another fellow that presented. His name was Blake Corey. And I don't have it. I can't find it. So I'm going to butcher this. But he said something to the effect, if you don't have the ability to buy business, you don't have a business. In other words, if you don't have the things in place for you to go out and purchase business in your marketplace through investing into marketing, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, direct mail, whatever it is, billboards, TV, etc. If you don't have a way of doing that, then you don't have a business, right? It's another way of looking at it. So how do I take these unique value propositions and tangibly use them to fill the pipeline? Well, I do it through social media, right? So I do it through, and one of the best ways, without question, one of the best ways is if you truly have a unique value proposition, you've got to talk about it all the time on Facebook Lives, on YouTube, in your weekly email, which, by the way, every single one of you, if you're watching this, you have got to be sending a weekly email to your entire database. A weekly email to your entire database. This is something many of you may have heard of and seen. Ricky Caruth, he that's like his that's like one of his pillars in his business. And I'm not taking anything away from Ricky, but I've been telling people to do that, and my partners and I have been telling people to do that since 2007, right?
Yes,
Send a weekly email, right? Send a weekly email. And that's another way for you to communicate that value proposition. So I do it in videos, I do it in emails, I do it in text messages. Because here's the other thing with that is we think because we said it once, everybody heard it. And if you've got kids, you know that ain't true. Because I got to say the same thing over and over to my oldest son. I got to remind him over and over and over. And it's the same thing with our unique value propositions. And you're not trying to beat people over the head with it. And there's lots of different ways that you can do it. So you make them aware of this unique value. So I make people aware of my off-market matchmaker program, right? And I may do that a number of different ways. And then another way I can bring it up is I've got a case study. Oh, hey, meet Dave and Sue. They used our off-market matchmaker program. And in doing so, we were able to sell their house here and find their dream home here. And their dream home, it wasn't even on the open market, right? So like telling stories, right? So there's a number. Yeah, telling stories is one of the best ways for you to communicate your value propositions. And stories, case studies, they're kind of one and the same, right?
They are.
Just showing people, like this isn't just theory, right? This isn't a theoretical thing that I offer. Here's a real example of how we use this to help Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. And so the best way to do it is to find every way possible to do it. You want to weave it into everything you do, into your emails. I'll take it back to Dean Jackson. All right, our main man, Dean Jackson. One of the things that he talks about is having a super signature. So every email that you send should have what he calls a super signature, which is easy ways for the recipient of the email signature to start a conversation with you, right? And what you need to put in that super signature is unique value propositions. Simple ways to get them to reach out to you and say, hey, tell me more about that, or what's this thing about, right? And now you've got clients chasing you versus you chasing them. So that was kind of a rambling answer to your question, but
it's just important because the marketing end of it, people think, they think that, my unique service proposition is that I have the off-market thing, right? What was it called again?
Off-market matchmaker.
Off-market matchmaking system or process, right? So this is what I have. People think that marketing that is, okay, everybody here, I have my off-market matching system and it is this, and this. Okay, so that could be 1 out of 10 or 20 posts or videos, right? But telling what you're saying, this is how we used it, right? I'm going to show them exactly how I did it. Or it could be, if I could do this for you, then would you, right? That's another way to look at it. If I could help you with these properties so you wouldn't have to worry about where you're going to move to, then would you list your property? That's another way to look at it, right? So, but what you're doing is we have to understand that there's not just one way to do it. There's many ways. There's 5, there's 15. There's an infinite number of how to do it through marketing, through social media, through posting, video, lives, Instagram, LinkedIn, even, whatever you want to think of. And even, using a product such as KV Core, you can actually play a lot with Craigslist as well, right?
Yeah.
So there's 100%. A lot of different things. That was Craigslist was one of the ways you started, correct?
That was my very first training program. So that's how I got started building my first sort of pipeline or system. I did it for myself, and then I taught other real estate agents how I did it using Craigslist. And Craig made it a lot harder to do what I had taught, back 10, 12 years ago. But the principles still hold true today. I mean, I use the same principles on Facebook that I did back then.
Yeah, and I want to repeat something that we both said a couple of times. When you're using these and building your systems and taking the action you have to, we're building a predictable, scalable way of doing things. And you don't have to do the things the same way that we're talking about. However, if there is a system that you're purchasing a system, I mean, Dean Jackson had systems. He had the Living In websites. He had the Get Listing program, right? He had all these different programs, but you really had to follow what he said to do. And when it started working, then you tweak it, right? And that's what I want to say to most people. Go ahead.
Replicate before you innovate, or duplicate before you innovate, right? If you're following someone, whether it's Dave or I or whatever, and you know that they have a proven process, duplicate or replicate it first, and then, like you said, then you can innovate. You can tweak a little bit, but not until you've gotten predictable results. Where I see this break for so many people is they say, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to change this, and this." Well, now you're taking a proven thing, and it might work with those this, and changes, but most likely not, because I say this analogy often. Big doors swing on small hinges. Big doors swing on small hinges. And oftentimes it's like the littlest thing that you're like, well, that couldn't be the reason why it's not working. Well, in a lot of cases, that little thing that you thought was not relevant, there was a reason why it was the way it was, right? So that is if you only get that from this, I think that's a huge takeaway. When you see something that's working, duplicate it before you innovate it.
Yeah, two things. If you've got an ad, like say you have a Facebook ad or a Google ad that's working, don't shut it off. Just let it keep going. Right? Unless you're too busy, start getting someone to work with you. But here's the thing. I just want to repeat it because it's so important. Don't change stuff because you don't like the way it looks, or maybe the color is wrong, or maybe you want to change a word or two. Don't do it, no matter how corny it is. I want to give you an example. One of the most successful agents that I know, Dan Beer, talked about a system. I was talking about a system one day, and he said, "Dave, look, when I got this, I thought this was the worst script, the worst thing to put in on a post, and worst way to describe it, worst way to respond to somebody. But I did it because it was proven, and I was told, don't change it. I'm telling you to do the same thing. And I'm telling all of our listeners, anybody that's ever looked into a system and bought a system, don't change it until it's working for you. If it doesn't work for you, okay, just remember, where are you in the J curve too? If you start something and it doesn't work right away, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means that it hasn't worked yet, right?
Right.
And that's a good point. Persistence and consistency is probably the biggest thing in our business. Would you agree with that, Josh?
100%, 100%. And I fight with it all the time. I have shiny object syndrome or entrepreneurial ADD, whatever you want to call it. We get, I don't know. There are so many things that I look at. Well, I'll give you a very practical example. So at the end of last year, so at the end of 2020, I went and I took the 30 transactions and I reverse engineered. I went and looked, okay, what was the exact source of that? Like, where did that come from? And for me, a lot of them came from Facebook campaigns. So I wanted to know, like, I tried to reverse engineer, like, what was the exact campaign? I was shocked to realize that I had done 7 transactions from a campaign that I had shut off months ago. And it's just an example of, especially in our business, which is a long sales cycle, way too often we stop doing something before we've even given enough time and energy for it to get to work, right? There's like an incubation period, and so often we give up before the magic happens, right? The 3 feet from gold. The problem with that for most real estate agents, and I struggle with this as well, is there are a lot of people in our industry that are full of bull, right? Like there's a lot of people trying to get into our pockets. And so you have to be diligent about doing due diligence, right? But once you know something's works, right? If you have evidence of someone that you know and trust, that they have something that works, man, and you commit to that, you've got to go all in on it. You've got to commit to it, and you've got to be persistent and consistent. And when you do that, it's just a matter of time. You know, I love sports, and I'm not an Alabama fan, but I love Nick Saban. And he beats the drum over and over. They don't ever talking about winning. They talk about the process. You know, they don't talk about winning the game. They talk about the process and winning the next play. Win the next play, win the next play, win the next play. And if you do the right things for long enough, you can't you can't stop good things from happening, right? But too often we focus on, well, I did this for a week and I didn't get a transaction. Okay, but let's do it for a month. Let's do it for a quarter. Yeah. Let's do it for a year, and you won't even believe how much compounding action and activity you get from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a great thing to say, is you cannot stop. I mean, you got to give it the right time. We're getting up on the hour. I want to talk about selective sequencing, because you mentioned it earlier today, and I have it up on the screen. Talk to us just quickly about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we coined, a fancy name for something that we coined, which is a combination of systems to take people from, haven't met, and using multi-channel and multimedia to get them to know, like, and trust you, so that when they do get to become ready, willing, and able. So what does that look like tangibly? Well, most often it's a Facebook campaign that drives people into a smart campaign, or, smart campaign is just what KB Core calls it. But, we built these types of campaigns on lots of different systems. And the whole system is designed to sift and sort out the most motivated, ready, willing, and able clients right now, while also building mind share and brand awareness for you, so that when they do hit that tipping point, they call, email, text, Facebook message you, whatever the case may be, and it's your business to lose. It's not business that you're competing for. And so it's just something that we built. I built it for myself first. It was what drove a majority of the new transactions that I closed in 2020, and it continues to drive a lot of that in 2021 as well. And it's taken everything I've learned over the last 12 to 15 years doing this stuff, and sort of boiling it down to a process and a system of systems is really what it is.
That's fantastic. Hey, man, I want to thank you so much for this almost hour-long discussion on how to help agents grow their business, and what it was for you and stuff. And you know what, man, I want to thank you so much. I'm looking forward to collaborate with you in the near future and forever.
Absolutely.
But I ask, there's 2 things I do at the end of each broadcast. One is this question. It's the main question that I ask everybody, which is so important to me in my life and my business. How do I help you? How does Dave help you grow your business?
Wow, that's a good one, and I wasn't. You kind of blindsided me with that one. I mean, this is a great example of how you help me, right? I love sharing, helping. I talked about one of my core beliefs being massive action. Another one is servant leadership, and I think you're doing a great job of living that out. And you've provided me an opportunity to try and provide that in our community as well. Certainly, you got anybody who's moving to the beautiful central Pennsylvania, bustling metropolis? Certainly always open to referrals, but I think you've already done a great service to me and already helped me a great deal by just having this platform and having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, man. Your phone number is on the bottom here.
Yep. Yep.
I do want to thank you for coming on, and I know you finally got on it, and you wanted, the reason you came on was just to get a hat.
Ah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just like everybody else. I mean, Glenn Sanford said the same thing to me when he was on. Dean Jackson, the same thing. I mean, they all wanted the hat, so you got a hat coming at you, man. I want to thank you so much for being on the broadcast. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to. I'm actually going to call this the beginning to to what we've got going on between us to help each other and to build great businesses together. Next week we have Jeff Lobb, who's a great realtor, a great speaker, Spark Tank Media. He's going to be on with us. I'm sure you've heard of Jeff. Jeff's going to be on with us next week. And it's our objective to always bring back value and everybody else. Josh, if you just stay on as we go out. We'll talk to you just privately at the end, and we'll be good. So just give me a second. Awesome. I hope.
Thanks again so much for having me, Dave. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I want to thank you so much for coming on, and we're going to go out with some good little music. Here we go.